Hello and welcome to Radnor 411. My name is Jim Doling and I'll be your host. Believe it or not, another year has gone by. Hopefully Radnor 411 has been informative and enjoyable for you. Up first is Sergeant Andy Block of the Police Department to tell us about the Township's own mini crime lab.
Hi, my name is Andy Block. I'm the Detective Sergeant with the Radnor Township Police Department, and for this edition of 411, we're going to speak about our mini crime lab that we have here right in the Radnor Township Police Department's Police Administration Building. There's three items that we want to speak about during this episode. The first item that I'd like to start off with and discuss in detail for everybody is it's an air drying cabinet that we have here right in our detective unit. This unit itself is used for any type of document or clothing that we may bring in as a piece of evidence. We'll place it in the cabinet. There's special drying filters that are in here, and we can dry the item, whether it be, as I stated, a document or clothing that's used from possibly a car crash where a pedestrian was struck, or a victim of an assault that may have blood or other type of fluid on there. We need to dry that for evidentiary reasons and to be able to store it in our evidence room. So we place it in our evidence drying cabinet here. And once it's completely dried, we'll document, photograph, and then we'll store in our evidence room. We also can bring in different types of documents such as checks, financial account papers, things of that nature. And if they've been wet, we can actually place them in here as well and dry them and then process them through a technique called using an hydrant, where we'll actually dip the document into a special solution that can develop fingerprints that may be on those documents. So the drying cabinet has several different functions that we use with respect to the forensic aspect of police work and developing evidence. The next that I'd like to discuss and talk about is our safe fuming chamber, which we have right here. This is a very unique piece of equipment because basically what we can do is if we bring in an item of evidence that has latent fingerprints on the evidence itself, the item of evidence, we can place it in here and we can actually freeze those fingerprints. Basically what happens is when somebody touches an item, they're leaving their fingerprints on it. If it's a smooth surface, we call it a latent fingerprint, simply because the oil from your fingers on your fingerprints transfers to that item. So the fingerprint is now on there, and that's very important to us when it comes to developing evidence and connecting the perpetrator with the scene of the crime. So if we locate an item of evidence that has a fingerprint on it, we will bring it in here and we'll place it into our fuming chamber. And basically what happens with this, as I stated, it's a very unique piece of equipment. We'll place the items of evidence in there. There's a pan that we have here on the side. This pan, we will take this pan, and this pan, it's a tinfoil pan, we'll take super glue. It's a special super glue. We'll pour it into the pan. Once it's into the pan, we'll replace the pan inside the chamber, and it goes on a hot plate. Once we have that completed, there's also, as you'll see later on, a water reservoir in here. We will fill the water reservoir up. We'll place our items of evidence in there, then we'll secure the cabinet. Once the cabinet is secured, we will set the timer on the top here and start the fuming process within the tank. When I say the fuming process, what happens is that hot plate is activated and the super glue that's on there actually is heated and it goes from a liquid to a vapor. That, in combination with the water that's been put in there, creates a humidified situation. So now the vapor is in the air. Any latent fingerprint, and if you recall, latent fingerprints are fingerprints that are placed on objects through the oils of a person's skin, is there. The vapor from the glue will attach to the fingerprints and actually freeze that fingerprint on that piece of evidence. So then we'll be able to remove it and we'll take it over to the downdraft hood. We'll be able to develop those fingerprints and then submit them to the lab for identification purposes to see if we can identify who the person was at the scene of the crime or committed that scene or committed that crime itself. So it's a very unique piece of equipment. It's used on a regular basis here in Radnor Township with the police department and the detective unit for developing and processing different pieces of evidence. And you'll see what we have in here. Today we have 4 boxes of Colgate toothpaste that were recovered from a retail theft at one of our local establishments, so we're processing those for fingerprints. There's a hammer in here that we're processing that was used in conjunction with a burglary. We have a glass in here that was found at a crime scene that we're going to fume as well, a burglary, and also a bottle that was dropped off where items were stolen. So these are different items that we have in here that we're processing right now, and we hope to get latent fingerprints off that and submit it to the Pennsylvania State Police Lab for identification purposes. All right, the last item we're going to discuss this afternoon is our downdraft hood. And basically what the downdraft hood is when we take our items out of the fuming chamber and we bring them over here, or other items that we may bring in that we cannot put in the fuming chamber, this is where we do our latent fingerprint development. So basically what the downdraft hood does is it provides a downdraft of air that when we're using the atomic latent fingerprint powder, that powder is taken back up into a filtration system so it doesn't come into the room or contaminate the people or the items that we're working on other than the piece of evidence. So we have the downdraft hood on, and at this point what I'd like to do is show you how we're going to develop some fingerprints off of this glass that I referred to earlier from a scene of a crime. Now this is for demonstration purposes only, but we'll take our glass, we'll use the fingerprint dust powder on it very lightly. We'll bring it back and forth to see if we can determine if there's any latent fingerprints on this piece of glass. And remember, the latent fingerprint is placed on an item or an object by a person touching it, and the oils from their fingers and on the ridges of the fingerprints are left on that item. So it's physical evidence, and that's what we need to look for as detectives when we're processing the scene of a crime, that physical evidence. Now once I've dusted the glass, I take a look at it under the light here and I can see ridges of what appears to be a latent fingerprint. So what I'll do is I'll move this out of the downdraft hood. I'll move it over here onto my staging area. I have tape and cards that are already pre-cut. This is special fingerprint lift tape. I will place that on the side of the glass. I will smooth out the tape over the fingerprint that's been developed here. And with any luck, when we remove the tape and place it on the card, we'll have some fingerprints, latent fingerprints, that can be sent to the Pennsylvania State Police Lab for fingerprint identification and analysis. So I'll walk up to the camera and I'll show everybody that we have been successful in lifting some fingerprints off of the glass that was in here. And you can see the ridges that are on here that identify the fingerprint, and that'll be analyzed by the Pennsylvania State Police Lab. I hope you enjoyed this edition of the Radnor 411 with the Police Department, and I wish you a safe day. Thank you.
Next, we travel over to the Recreation Department, where Leah McVeigh and Katie Diamond tell us about all the wonderful programs available this winter.
Hi, I'm Leah McVeigh, and we're from the Recreation and Community Programming Department.
And I'm Katie Diamond, and we're here to tell you about some upcoming programs we have.
The Township welcomes you and all of your children to the Holiday at the Willows on Sunday, December 11th, 2011, from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock at the Willows Mansion. The Radnor Girl Scouts joins forces with the Radnor Township's Recreation and Community Programs Department, along with Ithan Food Markets, HERS, and TD Bank, to bring this great celebration of holiday for our children and fun.
One of the best parts of the holiday season is seeing the great lighting and decoration displays that residents and businesses spend countless hours creating. To recognize those creative and hardworking decorators, Radnor Township will be holding its first Holiday Lights Contest. Entries will be accepted from now until 4 p.m. on Tuesday, January 3rd. A grand prize will be awarded to the top lighting display in the township. Residents and businesses are welcome to participate. Submit a photo of your display to the Recreation and Community Programming Department at 301 Ivan Avenue, or email your entry to kdiamond@radnor.org. Be sure to include your family or business name and a telephone number, along with your email address and your photo.
Also in December, the Recreation Department is presenting a winter break basketball camp. This camp will be held Monday to Friday, December 26th to December 30th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Radnor Activity Center. The program is for children, boys and girls, ages 6 to 13. The fee for a Radnor resident is $180. Non-residents are $205. Please be sure to sign up early so that we can offer this camp this winter. Thank you. Since we had snow in October, we thought it important to mention the Radnor Township Winter Safety Tips. They're always available online at www.radnor.com. Hopefully you've already signed your children up for the Radnor Youth Basketball League this winter. The program begins the first week of December, so don't forget to sign up. There's probably still space for your child in grade 3 through 12th grade to play basketball this winter. The Radnor Hoops Clinic, it begins in January, and it runs on Saturdays for our children in 1st and 2nd grade. It's a great program for your child to get out of the house, learn to dribble their basketball, pass, shoot, play with other friends, and have a great time. So please be sure to register for the Hoops Basketball Clinic. You can do that online at radnor.com. Make sure you also check out radnorsports.com if you don't find it there at radnor.com. Thank you. Also this winter, the Recreation Department offers a wonderful wrestling program. It runs on Saturday mornings beginning the first Saturday in January and runs through mid-March. For our children, boys and girls are all welcome, ages 5 and up, to meet at Radnor High School's wrestling room and learn some wrestling moves, get physically fit, and have a lot of fun.
Speaking of registering for upcoming programs, many of the Township's community sports organizations will be holding registrations for the 2012 season. Radnor Soccer Club will be holding an indoor soccer league. Registration starts now and the program begins in January. Radnor Wayne Little League registrations start in mid-December and close at the end of January. Radnor Girls Lacrosse registration begins on January 1st and ends on January 31st. Boys lacrosse registration starts in early December and ends in early February. For more information on these organizations and other youth sports groups, such as Radnor Aquatic Club, and more information on Radnor Soccer Club, visit radnorsports.com. In addition to the upcoming programs Leah mentioned earlier, we will have many more exciting programs and events happening during the winter and spring seasons. These include preschool soccer and dance, indoor tennis lessons, martial arts, theater, Zumba, ballroom dancing, and kickboxing. We'll be holding our first Daddy-Daughter Dance in February, and the second annual Egg Hunt Extravaganza will take place in early April. Be on the lookout for our full winter-spring recreation brochure. It will be available in mid-December on radnor.com. Information on these programs, how to register, and much more will be included. It's never too early to start thinking about summer. This year, the Recreation and Community Programming Department will be hosting an open house for the 2012 Radnor Day Camp and Summer Tot Lot programs. The open house will be a great opportunity to learn more about our 2 most popular summer camps. Learn what we have planned, meet the staff, and best of all, register. This event will be held in late March or early April. More information will be available in February of 2012 on radnor.com. Township Manager Bob Zinkowski is making a commitment to donate $10 to the American Lung Association for every pound he loses from December 1st till February 13th. He is challenging the members of the community to participate in an effort to improve the health of Radnor Township. You can set your own goal and commitment amount to benefit the American Lung Association. Goals can include pledging to exercise 30 minutes a day, quitting tobacco products, or getting more sleep. In order to help with your commitment, the Wayne Art Center will be hosting a series of weight control education and hands-on culinary demonstrations throughout the entire Manager's Challenge. These classes will be taught by Emma Foyt, a registered dietitian with over 20 years of experience. The series starts on Wednesday, December 14th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Wayne Art Center. The topic will be Making It Through the Holidays. The series will continue with sessions in January, February, and April. Visit radnor.com for a complete schedule and topics and to track Bob's progress during the Manager's Challenge.
And now we hear from Bill White of the Finance Department.
Thanks, Jim, and here's what is going on in the Finance Department for December 2011. It's hard to believe, first of all, it's hard to believe it's already December. This whole year has flown by with all the things going on. For December, what we're working on is, obviously we're trying to wrap up the year, so we've got a lot of our year-end processes going, which includes payroll and the year-end for that, W-2s, the final payouts, that are included in the collective bargaining agreements, closing out the year, making sure that the payroll and the general ledger are reconciled, and those kind of things. With accounts payable, it's the same thing, making sure that the vendors are paid. Any of the payments that we can't get included in December are included in the payables and rolled into January. And also completing some of the accrual type of entries that capture the liabilities that are on the books at the end of the month and carry forward in the next year. And those are the ones that we report on our annual financial statements, which we are also getting started on. The 2011 audit is underway. The auditors are doing some of their preliminary field work here in December, and will conclude their field work in the early spring of 2012, with the financial statements then coming out shortly after that in the May 2012 timeframe. So we are working on those things. Primarily right now for December, we're working on implementing some of the internal control recommendations and policies that are not only best practice, but also were required or recommended by the auditors as part of their prior year's audits. So we've worked with the Citizens Audit Review and Financial Advisory Committee on prioritizing those and making sure that we get the major ones done right away, with an overall plan to address the remainder of the comments over the next quarter or so into 2012. Along those same lines, with the Citizens Audit Review and Financial Advisory Committee, which is also known as CARFAC for short, some of the major items that they've been working on, that the administration has been assisting them with and providing information and clarification on, include long-term financial planning, which includes the development of a 5-year forecasting model that they prepared in Excel and gave to me, that we're incorporating then into our 2012 budget document for inclusion for 2013, as we start to identify some of these long-term large liabilities that need to be addressed, which is another item that the CARFAC is working on. And that's getting their arms wrapped around exactly what they are, what drives them, and then ultimately what are some ideas that the township could consider in addressing them. Some of those long-term liabilities include compensated absences, which are leave time payouts, capital funding. Those are the two more immediate items that are lacking in terms of their inclusion in the budget. The capital being the replacement of fleet vehicles and township assets, infrastructure, those kind of things. And then some of the more long-term liabilities that we're required to report that are in need of attention are other post-employment benefits for the retirees, as well as the pension plans. And the liabilities being generated out of those two categories are from expenses incurred today and the actuarial calculations of what those expenses will look like out over the time life, the horizon of those two items. So the liability that's reported in our financial statements is if we had to pay everything as of December 31st of 2011. The more realistic approach is some sort of plan to address them over a long period of time, since the liabilities are due over a long period of time. So addressing the capital and compensated absence issue is a little bit more immediate. The OPEB and pension is a little bit more long-term in focus. Additionally, the CARFAC is assisting in taking a look at our business processes to make recommendations on where revenue collection processes could be improved, or where expenditure processes can be improved. If there are savings, if there are ways to reduce costs in areas, they're taking a look at all those items as well. As part of their charge, the other item that they have that they're looking through is the CBFAC report, and communicating with the administration on which one of the recommendations that the CBFAC made in 2010 that we're looking to implement in 2012. And there are a small list of those items that the manager is moving forward with on those. So one of the other items is to review the township's financial software capabilities, with the ultimate goal on that being to improve our financial reporting and getting information out to you, to the stakeholders, to the residents, the business owners, and other interested parties so that we can begin to get financial information out there that is a little bit more useful and a little bit more available. Right now, the information that we put out a monthly report in addition to the budget, but we put out a monthly report that's usually 2 to 3 weeks behind. So we're trying to close that gap a little bit. Moving along, the other major item for December 2012 or 11 is the 2012 budget. There's already been quite a bit of discussion and legislative action on the 2012 budget. Depending on when you're seeing this in December, the board is scheduled on December 12th to have a public hearing and adopt the 2012 budget. If it's before that date, I would encourage, if you are interested, to attend that meeting or watch it on TV. If you have any questions or you want to see the budget or find out what the discussions are about, the budget is online at the Township's website. It's also at the Township Administrative Building. If you don't have access to internet, you could come look at it here. So the board will be having more discussion and ultimately adopting that here in December, on December 12th. Now, there is a chance that if things change, that there may be special meetings after that. So stay tuned to the Township's website for any kind of update or changes on that plan. But if adopted on the 12th, what we'll be doing administratively is then taking that document, taking what the board has approved and entering it into the financial system so that on January 1, when we throw the proverbial switch, it's all in place and ready to go. And there are quite a few changes in terms of accounting on how certain things are accounted for from 11 to 12. So there'll be quite a bit of work on that end. So that's what's going on in finance this month. As always, if you have any questions, please go to the website. There's a link to email questions. You can call, and we'll be more than happy to get those answered. Until next month, take care.
Well, there you have it. Thanks for watching. Remember, RTV is your information station. Happy holidays to all. We'll see you next year.